What's up, everybody? Thralls of Metal coming at you once again. I am Rin.
I'm Shredlord.
Necrotic Nick.
And we got a brand spanking new. It's new. You're gonna love it.
Shiny.
New.
A new segment called Real Metal. Let me explain what real metal means. Real metal, we're going to go over movies, not necessarily about metal, but their soundtracks. And when they used to put songs with guitars on soundtracks years ago,
Way back.
they actually put some really good songs on soundtracks. Cardi B is not on these albums we're going to talk about. We're not going to discuss any of the Fast and Furious soundtracks.
So as my cohort in the center here explained to you, we're basically going to take our love for movie, music in the metal genre, combine them together,
Dirty.
and here we are. And when we were talking about this concept, I think the first movie soundtrack that unanimously we all said would be The Crow. And for those of you who are not familiar, The Crow was a movie that came back a very long time ago in another world, it seems like now, starring the son of Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee, about a man who comes back from the dead to avenge the murder of him and his fiancée.
And he's a rock and roller.
Yes, he is.
So this movie is, I would say, a 90s favorite across the board, and the soundtrack was absolutely incredible just in terms of it captured so many different spots in the 90s musically. Now, this came out in March of 1994, and in terms of interesting 90s music, this has it. Now, and it's interesting to note that the creator of The Crow, James O'Barr, was a huge fan of The Cure and Joy Division. In fact, some of the lyrics actually popped up in the actual comic itself, both referencing The Cure and Joy Division. And what we have on here are lots of interesting old goth songs, kind of new goth rock, industrial, some metal, some alternative, and just strange, dark, catchy music. That was kind of the thing. Picture this, if you will. You're at a music store. You see an alternative chick, a goth dude, and a metalhead all reaching for the same CD, and it's the Crow soundtrack. So this was kind of a meeting point of a lot of interesting underground cult bands for a lot of people. This actually featured 4 covers on it, and the covers, I think, are very important just because they covered a lot of obscure bands. But the one that stands out pretty much across the board is Nine Inch Nails' cover of Dead Souls, originally done by Joy Division. This might be my favorite song on the entire album. I didn't even know that this was a cover when I first heard it. I thought it was just another brilliant thing that Trent Reznor wrote, which is entirely possible because he's done that quite a bit.
And at this time, in 1994, Trent Reznor was on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Downward Spiral just came out, and he was hitting on all cylinders, and he gave no shits.
And it was because of this album that I actually went back and discovered Joy Division, which I'm definitely a fan of now.
But they're not joyful.
No, they're not joyful. It's
far from joyful.
Pretty much a big bummer. And then you also have the opening track by The Cure, Burn, which might be my favorite track by The Cure.
It's the only song by The Cure, as far as I know.
It's not,
but
it's a damn good song. And again, both of these songs, as well as the rest of this album, kind of capture a cool feel, and it's mirrored in the movie itself, which I think that's a sign of a really good soundtrack. If you actually capture the feel of the movie with just the random, well, not really random, but all the bands that are on there. Because not many of the bands actually popped up in terms of the music in the film. Most of it was done by Graham Revell. But here and there you hear little snippets of it, and it fits the whole atmosphere.
One of my favorite tracks, obviously, is by a little-known band called Pantera.
Little telegraphed.
who are those dudes?
It's a car, and it's Panther in Spanish.
The Car wrote the song.
The Car wrote the
really
song.
Unbelievable.
In Spanish. Another good thing about soundtracks back in the day, it was a place for bands to put B-sides on. And they would generally, when they recorded an album, they would record 3, 4, 5 extra songs that didn't make the album specifically for movie soundtracks because movie soundtracks were cool and it would give a wider audience for their music. So 1994, Pantera was on fire with their #1 debut on the Billboard, Far Beyond Driven. They put a cover of Poison Idea's The Badge, which is a pretty obscure hardcore band from Oregon?
I can't remember where they're from, but I actually have like an anthology of theirs, and it's awesome old school hardcore.
And obviously that was Phil's idea, and Pantera shreds it. It sounds like a Pantera song.
Anytime you get Vinny and Dime, you know what you're getting.
Kick in the teeth.
And in the nuts at the same time.
That's a big foot.
Yeah.
No, what that is a David Lee Roth fucking jump snap kick. Preferably in his
Assless chaps.
Eat 'em and Smile Day assless chaps, yeah.
So Joy Division and Nine Inch Nails may have brought some depressing stuff. Pantera brought the anger, and so did one Henry Rollins with the Rollins Band cover of Ghost Rider by another obscure band, Suicide.
Apparently they were like weird, obscure electronic punk. It was mostly keyboards and drums and screaming.
Sounds like something Henry would like.
Yeah.
And at this point, Henry Rollins was also on fire. Weight just came out, Liar was huge, Disconnect, and he was already the alternative icon that we know as Henry Rollins.
I always thought it was interesting that the song is actually about the character Ghost Rider. So we have a song about a comic book character in a comic book movie, but it's not even the comic book character that's the movie's about, and it's even a totally different company too.
Nicolas Cage.
Is this an M. Night Shyamalan movie or what?
What a twist!
It's a twist.
Now, yet another cool thing that this soundtrack did, and actually soundtracks did do even after and before this, was promote material that was coming out. Two of the songs on here actually were pretty much songs that came out in the future from Stone Temple Pilots and Helmet. Both the songs Big Empty and Milk Toast did not actually come out on their albums, respectively Purple and Betty, until June of 1994 when this came out in March. So it was a good little throw in there to promote up-and-coming bands, and at this point, two bands that were definitely up-and-coming. Meantime had taken off, and Core had taken off even bigger. So another little thing there to throw in, just in terms of cool things about soundtracks.
Big Empty might have been one of the biggest hits on Purple, and Milk Toast was the biggest hit on Betty. So it's like you release your hit to promote your album that you're probably going to buy anyway because the hit's on it. Oddly enough, the SDP song Big Empty, which is a great song, wasn't the first choice. They were going to do a reworked version from their core demo of a song called Only Dying, and then after the Brandon Lee tragedy, the song was called Only Dying, and they thought that might be a little inappropriate given the circumstances.
So they changed it to Big Empty, which is a hell of a song.
Yeah, great song.
And it was actually a charting single from this soundtrack, too. It was actually one of the reasons why this soundtrack sold so many damn copies. Almost 4 million copies.
Jesus, did that many people see the movie?
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. Now, I watched this movie and listened to the soundtrack just a few years after these guys due to a, I'll be kind, Nick, a small age difference between us. However, as the angsty little teenager, I remember, my Peter Steele loving days, which are still here, by the way. I love Peter.
Never goes away.
I'll never not have a boner for Peter Steele, but anyway, I digress. The first song, Burn by The Cure, and I was already familiar with The Cure, but that was like such a dark, emotional, yet not cheese whiz kind of song, and it captivated me from the beginning. The first 5 tracks of that album period are just, to me, they're fucking awesome.
Gems.
They are super gems.
Golgotha Tenement Blues.
Golgotha Tenement Blues. I always mess that up, but the bass line in that song is fucking awesome. It is like Nick and I and were talking earlier, it is like a nice blend of like old goth and kind of new goth, because at the same time you got to remember that industrial was pretty much huge. Bands like KMFDM,
Nine Inch Nails,
Ministry. That was huge. There was a whole new sound kind of injecting itself into metal, and this was a great blend of a lot of different things. But then you still had Pantera, which was more just straight up fucking heavy metal, rip your face off, and then you go to more like a ballad on Burn. Burn is almost ballad like a little bit. Not
the tribal
so much.
drums really drive it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Or I was lucky enough, I remember seeing one of the very last shows at the Toledo Sports Arena before they tore it down. I was on definitely a few hits of acid that day, and I remember watching them play Dead Souls live at the sports arena and just going, oh, dude, like, if I OD'd on this LSD right now.
See the song, man.
Dude, I watched Trent Reznor play one of my favorite songs that he, ever was associated with. And you know what? We didn't talk about another great band on this album, too.
Rage Against the Machine.
Rage Against the Mother Truckin' Machine.
And they injected what would later kill the 90s, the new metal.
Yeah, I mean, Faith No More is a little to blame for that too, but we love them. We love them.
Yeah, we love
Mike
we love
Patton
them
does
all.
no wrong.
Yeah.
We love
Mike Patton does no wrong.
We love Tom Morello as well.
Yes.
But yeah, they put a B-side from self-titled because Evil Empire was not out yet, right?
Yeah, no.
That didn't come out till 96.
96. No, 96. I think is right. Yeah.
Yeah. You had your hardcore Pantera cover. You had your old guard of Rollins band. You had your industrial, alternative,
Jesus
rap
Mary
rock,
Chain.
new metal. It had everything on it except for Lil Wayne because he was probably like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
I mean, he probably already had like a mixtape at that
He
point.
probably had a mixtape, and it was probably
very-
Fire, as they say. Is that what the kids say?
But honestly, that was like a big standout song for me. And then, of course, Machines of Living Grace. And when we were talking about like with the old school goth and new school goth and industrial stuff, those two songs were kind of a good mix of both because you still had, all the stuff that was coming up, like, of course, like Ministry and all the other bands we brought up, but also like older stuff like Sisters of Mercy and shit like that. It really fit the whole feel of the movie, and that was the big thing. Because even without the movie score in there, this would actually score really, really well. Now, of course, you can't have this album without a bit of the movie score, and that was Gene Sibry and, of course, Graham Revell doing It Can't Rain All the Time, in which I think they've never been to Toledo, because it does rain all the time here.
And in the movie,
Yeah.
there was no sunlight.
Yeah, no, it's always dark.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't without songs that I didn't care for as much. Violent Femmes Colored Me Once, which I went to high school in the 90s, and if I ever heard the song Blister in the Sun again, I might just burn someone to see a blister.
Burn.
Oh my God. I hate that song. But this song was actually kind of tolerable, and it was like I had to just kind of quell down the hate for that one song. Yeah. And then you punch someone.
Yes.
More than likely the dreadlock patchouli smelling motherfucker that keeps fucking bringing it up and kicking around a hacky sack.
Would you please wear some closed-toed shoes?
Oh my God. But outside of a few tracks that I didn't get into as much, most of this I got into, and this is one of those soundtracks you can just listen to as a whole piece.
Yeah. This is almost a perfect soundtrack for the movie. It's not a perfect movie. It's
Damn good movie.
a damn good movie. If I had to rate the movie, I would probably give the movie 4.5.
Yeah.
And rating the soundtrack, yeah, 4.5. I'm not going to say my age when the movie came out, but it was very influential in my young life at the time. 94 was just a hell of a year in music in general, and this was just another compilation of the new Pantera, Rage was blowing up, Rollins Band, Downward Spiral. I loved all these bands and was just discovering them at the time. And then a movie with Brandon Lee, who, if you saw the movie Rapid Fire or the movie Big Showdown in Little Tokyo, and were a fan of his dad, you're like, yes, Brandon Lee's going to be a big ass star. He might have been Keanu Reeves, but accidents, things. Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie, watch it. If you haven't heard the soundtrack, listen to it.
So this movie and movie soundtrack takes my big greasy box, and it checks all of it.
Oh, I thought it was.
I loved this movie when I saw it. I still love this movie to this day. I watch it probably a couple times a year just for pits and shiggles. And I absolutely adore this soundtrack too. Not that it's without faults, but this brings me back to a very nostalgic and good time in my younger life. And 4.5 all the way, baby. 4.5.
I'm going to go ahead and go with the 4.5 for both the movie and the soundtrack. And actually, it was Ren here that brought up a article that Revolver did, how this was like the perfect outsider soundtrack.
Yeah.
And they're right. Literally, this was like pretty much all the underground faves at the time of, the kids like the deeper, darker music, and that was me. And all the intersecting lines where all these different styles of music really played off of one another was great. And again, this does something that I think every soundtrack should do. It properly fits the film and even kind of like the flow of it. It's an awesome soundtrack. I think it stands out as one of the best in the 90s for damn sure. And, you know, it's paired up with one of the best 90s movies out there. It's not without its faults. There are some tracks I don't get into as much, but honestly, if I just put this on and played it all the way through, I wouldn't skip a track. I would just listen to it because I have so many fond memories of it. And even the bands that I didn't care for as much, they still put out some pretty solid songs. So yeah, this is a true blue 90s gem and an absolute amazing soundtrack that you need to own. And get the movie too, why not? Package deal.
So thank you all for taking a fun little trip down memory lane with the three asshats here. And we look forward to doing definitely some more movie soundtracks. And if you guys have any, maybe that we're not aware of, or any particular ones, just drop a comment below, and we definitely will be doing more of these metal soundtracks in the future. If you like what you saw here, please hit the like and subscribe button. We are a bunch of jackasses that have fun doing what we're doing, but the like and subscribe definitely helps. It also helps grow our community, and we appreciate every single one of you. Also, we are also on Patreon. If you would like to help us bring you more awesome content, also some exclusive content on the Patreon, please check out the link below in this video.
Also, we have a giveaway going on once we hit 6,000 subs, which we are getting really close, and thank you all for this. We're giving away a nice little stack of 4 CDs, so if you have not liked or commented or shared that video, there will also be a link to that below. Get on there because there are a lot of cool CDs, and ideally I'd like to get you all copies of these CDs, but only one of you are going to win.
In due time. We'll have enough funds to just give everyone a CD. That'd be awesome.
That'd be fun.
That'd be the shit.
But with that, we thank you very much for watching, and we will catch you later.
Fire it up!
Fire it up! Fire it up!